everyone, it's Evelyn, and in this week's video we're going to go over the recipe that I've created for my ranunculus bouquets. I've been making the bouquets for just under a week, so I have a recipe that I really like. I can put it together quickly because I can do it without thinking because I know exactly what goes into it. So let's go ahead and start doing that. So before I go and grab what's going to go into my ranunculus bouquet, I'm going to say it's a new purchase for me this year. It's not a ranunculus, but it's the first thing that goes into it, and I'm so glad I bought them for this year. New to me for the year is the Globemaster Allium, and I'm almost out of them. As you can see, they're beautiful, giant, large spheres of purple. Now, what's interesting about them, as well as the ambassador alliums in the garden that are going to replace these ones once these are gone, is that they start off as a much tighter ball of purple flowers, and then they slowly separate. So you can see all the little gaps in that one. So this sphere, actually, which if I put it next to my head, you can see how incredibly big that is. Look at that. This sphere started off as a much smaller sphere, but because these little flowers have been separating, oh look, I got a bug on me, off. Here we go. Have been separating, the ball has been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the same thing is happening to the ambassador alliums. So if you saw my last week garden tour of mid-June, and I put them together because they're growing side by side, you'll see that the ambassador alliums are quite a bit smaller, but they're slowly going to get bigger and bigger and bigger too. These ones are almost too big to use, and they're almost finished. So I'm going to use them up first anyway before I start with the ambassador ones, because I want them to get a little bit bigger. So this is what I start with, and then I want to gain some height on three sides of this. So this sits down a little bit lower, and I'm going to start with, because it's blooming now, my hair allium. Look at that, isn't that just gorgeous? The little funky fun stuff, and I'm going to have it come off and up to the side. I'm going to pair that with a black button bachelor button, which I'm also going to have come up and off the side. And then I want something on the third side here. And what I'm going to do with that, I'm going to grab this. I'm going to grab this beautiful anemone. This is Bordeaux. And I'm going to have that come off of the third side like that. I like to keep the anemones where the stems are going to be a little bit more on the inside, because they tend to be a bit more fragile than all of the other stems. So that's my three stems that are going to be higher than it for height, and that's what that looks like so far. I'm now going to add in snowberry branches for some foliage. Now, if you saw my snowberry branches in my mid-June garden tour, you'll know that they are actually shoots coming from underneath our fence from our neighbors. And because they're shoots, they're really tall and thin, and they're really, really handy for bouquets. So they're sort of one-sided. The leaves all face one side. So there's backs and fronts. So of course I'm going to put the front of the leaves, just going to pull off these lower ones so that they face out. And I'm also going to have them sit up just a little bit high, and I'm going to do 3 of those. Actually, I'm not going to do 3 of those because I'm forgetting my recipe already because I'm talking to you guys. One of them is going to be parsley umbels, which I love because they have that same sort of funk that the hair allium does. And I'm actually going to do it opposite where the hair allium is. So opposite that, I'm going to put the parsley umbels. And that's going to be it for foliage that sticks up high, just the parsley umbels and 1 stem of the snowberry branches. Put these 2 back in here. Now I'm going to start with the ranunculus. So I'm going to start with white, and I'm going to do, because white shows up beautifully against the purple, it has a really nice sparkle of light color. I'm going to do 1 white. I'm going to do 1 orange in between. So this one went in between the anemone and the bachelor button. The orange is going to go between the anemone and the hair allium, and it's going to set sort of midway down the Globemaster allium. And then I'm going to grab a pink one, and I'm going to do it between the hair allium and the bachelor buttons. So again, it's on 3, 1, 2, 3. We'll just lift this one up so it's a little bit higher. So that's how that's looking right now. I'm then going to do, first I'm going to just pull some more of this leaves that are below my hand off and out of the way while they're easily accessible. And then I'm going to do 3 more ranunculus. And this time I'm going to go in for some darker shades of the ranunculus. So I have this beautiful dark red whose name I forget, so I'll put it up on the screen. The pink is called blush, the orange is called salmon, and the white is called white. And this will be up on the screen, whatever it's called for the dark purple. And I'm placing it in between the brighter colors so that they keep their pops. And this is more of just a beautiful, subtle little, just a subtle little reference of a different color there. So as you can see, I ignore color theory when I'm making bouquets. Color theory is good to know. I do know it. I have been an interior designer for decades, and I'm also an artist, so I do have a very good understanding of color. Actually, that's one thing that I excelled at when I was going to school for interior design. So for me, it comes second nature. And the thing with color theory is, it's good when you don't understand color, because the reality is there's no such thing as a wrong color combination. What there is wrong percentages of colors combined together. So you can put any 2 colors together so long as the percentage of each doesn't fight with each other. For example, black and white floor is 50% black, 50% white. It competes for attention, but that's okay because it's got so much other stuff on the floor that tones it down. But in a bouquet, you wouldn't necessarily want half the bouquet fighting with the other half of the bouquet. So you just have to start to get an understanding for color, depth of color for darkness, how light colors present further forward, dark colors present farther back, contrasting colors don't necessarily compete for attention unless they're of the equal amount of size. I mean, this large purple Globemaster is far more volume and percentage of the bouquet than this little piece of orange. So there's all sorts of things that you need to take into account when you're creating a good balance of color. And color theory doesn't play into that. It's only good if you don't know anything about color. You can use your color theory to give yourself some form and structure as to what you're doing. But once you know your color theory, once you understand color really well, then you just totally ignore color theory and work with balances, textures, and all that other kind of stuff. Anyway, let's get back to the bouquet. So I put a red one there. Now I have a lighter red one whose name I also forgot. That's this one. And I'm going to put it next to the dark red one, in between the pink and the white. And then I'm going to do one more, and let's see, what color shall I do this one? I actually want to add in another color because everything so far is one. So I think I will do an anemone just to add in a slightly different color. And that color is going to be, I need a thick stem so that it doesn't break. So I used the Bordeaux up there, so I think I'm going to use the sulfide de cyan, or however you say that, down here. So that's going to be all the flowers. So we've got 6 ranunculus, sorry, we have 4 ranunculus, 2 anemones, 1 bachelor buttons, 1 hair allium, 1 Globemaster allium, 1 stem of parsley umbels, 1 stem of snowberry, and then just to give it a little bit more fullness around the base, and because I'm having to trim my camellia bush to keep it out of the driveway, I'm going to give it, I'm going to bend these all out and around the bottom of the bouquet, and just give it a little bit more green coloring down here. And that's my bouquet. So I'll strip off these lower leaves so that they don't end up in the water anywhere and don't get in the way of me tying it. I'll push them off into my container down below the table, which turns out is a hand cement mixer, thanks to whoever, sorry, I forgot the name of the person who told me that. And now I'm going to tie it. So I've got my ties and my paper back here, and I've got my T-ruler, well actually my square ruler on top of it, and I can just pull one out, fold it in half, make a crease. I would normally tie it over here to stay out of any water that I've dripped here, but because the camera's there, I'll do it over here. First thing I'm going to do is tie it. If you watched my peony bouquet recipe that I did last month, I really went over how I tie them, but basically I fold a 24-inch strip of twine in half. I then put it across the bouquet with the loop this way. I reach underneath, grab the two loose stems, hold it with my finger, reach between the loop, grab the two stems, pull them tight, and then tie a knot. Again, if you want a more close-up view of how I do that, you can always watch my peony bouquet recipes that I did last month. So that's tied now. Before I put the wrap on it, I'm going to cut the stems. The three shortest ones are here. I'm not going to do exactly the two shortest ones. I'm going to go maybe about an inch longer. And then I'm just going to cut these all off to that length. Oops, forgot that one. So there's the length of my stems. Now I'm going to put this on. I start off near the bottom of the stems of the bouquet. And the first side, I kind of wrap in and underneath. And then I wrap this one around. And I keep this low because I'm going to use twine again, and I want that end piece down underneath the twine. Once I've got that like that and scrunched with my fingers, I'm just going to fold these out of the way so they don't get in the way of the flowers when I push it up. And once I got them folded out of the way, I'm going to push this up. Look, so that's like that. Now I'm going to get another piece of twine and do the same thing. Let's tie it. Now, because I use my phone to film, I can't actually take a picture of this because I use my phone to take a picture too. But I've got my little station out over here where I've got the concrete board and a little burl wood, and I will prop my bouquet up on there in a direction that I like. I'll take a picture. Then I'll spin it and take another picture, and I actually usually do this before I put the paper on it, but I've already put the paper on it, so it will have its picture taken with the paper on it. So that's what I do. I kind of take pictures, I'll level a little bit higher and spin it around and take other ones. And then I have a record of this bouquet. And before I put it in water, I make sure I get all these loose pieces of paper up. The paper for me is just to protect the base of the bouquet. It's not to enhance the bouquet. I want the flowers to do all the talking. I think that bouquets that have a lot of paper around them, I don't actually like that. And I find it wasteful because really, people either recycle or toss the paper. So the less of that you can use, the better. I'm even considering when my roll of paper is finished, because I've got a pretty big roll of it, that I may start not putting paper on my bouquets. But that's my bouquet. I would then put it in one of these, and either take it up to the flower wagon because I need it right away, in which case it goes into just a black plastic florist bucket that I got from our local grocery store, and that'll sit in my flower wagon. Or if, as right now, I already just made one and put it up there because I needed one for up there right away, I will just set this aside, not here, because the sun will hit here. But back there, where it's in a nice, cool, darkish spot, because the sun doesn't hit there, and when I'm not filming, I'll turn the overhead lights off. So it'll keep much better than if it was in a warmer spot. I don't have a cooler. I'm just a tiny urban flower farmer. I don't grow a ton of flowers. I don't need a cooler for storage because I don't have enough to store. I don't have enough flowers that I require storing them. I have a couple of days of ranunculus here, but ranunculus lasts for 2 weeks. So I store them by the day. So these are my freshest ones. It was not a nice day yesterday, so there wasn't that many open this morning. So this is today's pickings. Yesterday was a nicer day, so I have quite a few more in yesterday, and I just keep them in the order. And I will take from the oldest ones and work my way across that way. And by the way, if you watch my mid-June garden tour, you'll notice that my sweet peas weren't really doing anything yet. They're still not doing much, but this is what I got today so far. I got this many sweet peas for today. So they're starting to increase, but it's been really slow because our weather has been really so much more colder than expected for both May and June so far. But you know, last year was hotter than expected, so I guess that balances out. So next what we're gonna do is we're gonna make another bouquet, but we're not gonna do it the recipe that I always use. We're gonna pretend that I don't have what I need for that recipe. And I've cut a few things that I only have like one here, one there up. We're gonna do a bouquet made out of that. So for this bouquet, we're gonna pretend that the Globe Masters are all done. I have no more, although I do have a few. So I've gone ahead and cut the first of the Ambassador Alliums. So there's that. Put it next to my head, you can see it's quite a bit smaller. In fact, if I grab the bouquet that I just did, you can see the size of that, and you can see the size of the Globe Master versus the Ambassador. Quite a difference in size, even though this is still pretty big. So the hair alliums just started, and I have a lot of them, so I will always have those for the length of the Ranunculus bouquet, so I'm going to put that in there. My kale has decided to put out some more stems of flowers, so we're going to use a branch of kale flowers and put those up high. Oops, I don't have this one up high enough there. So I've got the yellow of that. I'm going to be having lots of black button bachelor buttons for the next month at least, so I'm going to grab a stem of that, put that there. And I'm going to have tons and tons of parsley, so I'm definitely going to put some of that in there as well. So this has put me 4 things up high, but we're going to pretend that I don't have any snowberry branches to put in any sort of green up and around here. But I always have the feverfew that I don't like using, but if I need it, I'll use it, growing everywhere because it's a weed in my garden. And if you watch my mid-June garden tour, you'll notice I had some long stems growing along the concrete beds there, so I cut one. And I'm going to put it up against here so that some of the whiteness of it goes mostly all the way around like that. So you can see that the white is now wrapping all the way around the Ambassador Allium. So that's kind of fun. So now we're going to pretend I have no anemones and just do ranunculus, and we're going to do 6 of them. So I'm going to go pink, white. We're doing these all sort of right at the base of the Ambassador Allium. And then we're gonna, oh, I got this red one. Should I do this red one there? No. I'm gonna go back and do an orange because it's so nice and bright. Sort of my standard 3 around the base. Now I don't have them equally distant, so I will rearrange them so that they're just, actually I'm gonna change this. I'm not going to use the orange in this one. I'm going to use, because of the white feverfew in here, I think I'm going to do 3 white ones around the base of the mouth of this Ambassador Allium, and will tie in nicely with the white of the feverfew. So, as you just put a ball on the table, go get it. So I've got 3 whites now around the base of it, and then I'm going to take 3 pink and do them just slightly lower in between. So this one, I need to go in between the white ones. Pulling away all this lower. It's always good to pull any leaves and things off that are low down, not just because you don't want it in the water, but you don't need them to suck up energy away from the bouquet stems. I need one more pink. got that. So there's that. I'm now going to, do I have any greenery here? I don't. Oh, you know what I forgot to put in here that I also have? I cut just for this particular bouquet, a foxglove. So I'm going to add in the foxglove. I have no other greenery, but I'm going to call that a day. So I'm going to go grab my tie. Can't get my finger between the loop. Okay. I'm going to cut the stems. I'm going to find the shortest one and cut a little bit longer. So here's the two shortest. I'm actually going to cut it to the length, them all to the length of the second shortest. Well, look what I did. I broke two of my stems. All right, that's never any good. It does happen. They were a little floppy, I noticed. So I'm going to undo my tie here. We're going to pull out the two that broke, because we don't want broken ones in there. And replace them. Okay. Pink and white. Tie it again. Got these two stems. Now this is where I would take the pictures of them. So, oh, look at all this green down here. I don't want that on there. Get rid of that. Place it up against my concrete board or cement board. Take a picture of it. Take a picture of it. Now, because it doesn't feel as full, because it's got a lot less green on it, I may actually hold it and take a picture of it where it's tipped more so that you don't see so much of the narrow skinny neck on it, and then turn it and do the same thing that way, so that you're seeing my hand holding it plus more of the top of the bouquet. Once I've taken a picture of it, I will wrap it. Pull this stuff down. Push it up. Put another tie on it. I see Ezra got your ball off the table. Push this loose stuff up. So there's that one. It looks a lot, without the camellia branches in it around the base, it looks a lot less of a bouquet, but it's still got the same amount of flowers. I'll probably open it up and go cut a branch of the camellia and add it into here, because like I said, I'm having to prune the camellia out from being inside of the driveway. But which do you like better? Do you like the one with the more green foliage in it? Or do you like the one with the less? This one that's different, it's got the foxglove, the kale flowers, and the feverfew. Just kind of really pushed in and amongst the ambassador allium. While this one has the globe master allium. It's got orange ranunculus, a Bordeaux anemone, sulfide dicyon anemone, which is the fuchsia one, and of course the branch of camellia from the camellia bush. Those are the main differences between these two. So which do you like better, the fuller one or the less full one? I mean, I prefer this. I like having a lot of lush greenery in it, again, because greenery is very much in fashion for bouquets. So I like that. I think it looks much nicer in a bouquet, but they're both pretty. So what I'm going to do now is put a link up here, and this link is going to be for my peony bouquet recipe, so that you can get, if you haven't watched it, it goes more into detail as to how I actually do the ties on my bouquets. And I'm also going to leave a link down here for my bouquet making, oh hello you, for my bouquet making station, so that if you like this, the layout of the station, I go over it more in depth about why it's laid out like this and how I use it. Till next week, bye.